Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. Today I want to do another frequently asked videos question. I'll get into the comment section, see what you guys are interested in. It's late at the time of recording, so I'm just going to, usually I like to do 3 comments from 3 different videos and just get into each of them. I'm going to tackle one good comment this time around because it's just late and I'm bushed, guys. My wife had COVID. We just got back from a long vacation. It's been a busy season. I'm a tired man. So we'll get into one comment from the comment section. Before we do that, my name is Dwayne Cunningham. I go by Infidel1258. You can call me 12. Drop comments on any video. I do this regularly and maybe I'll read your comment. If I do, and if you leave your IGN, I might just send you something special. Let's get into it. I have not looked at the comment section yet. I did see that I had this economic collapse video where I did like an hour-long conversation with myself and Rick on the mountain on his channel, 2 hours long on his channel, an hour on mine, just a clip of this conversation around economic collapse, silver, gold, cryptocurrency, all of that stuff. Interesting conversation, loved it. Saw a lot of views, saw a lot of comments. We might focus in on that one here today. Well, but I'm gonna, more than anything, I wanna find one comment that's really got some meat on the bones. Let's read 3 comments from this economic collapse video because it looks like they're gonna be shorter in response. First off, a little bit of salt from Davin Thompson, 71133. 10 hours ago, he dropped a comment pretty salty about my view on expressed in this video. Let's give a quick response to him and then we'll move on. WTF, you said a lot of nothing, bro. The crypto market has 2 sides, bull and bear, no middle. This is not the stock market or companies that have real products to sell. That they have to sell to feed their families, and it's not open source like crypto. Bitcoin having makes the bull market, and you can't back money with gold today. There's so much here that I disagree with, but I'll try and keep it to a minimum response. Bitcoin halving is exciting and interesting. Of course, I track that information. I'm not as convinced as you appear to be. You seem 100% convinced that nothing but the Bitcoin halving. So you're talking about an argument, you're articulating an argument that supply of Bitcoin, when it shrinks and it cuts in half, you're saying that will drive price appreciation. And though I don't disagree with that theory, you have to admit that this is a complicated thing, and it's far more complicated because there are 2 elements of the equation. Not just, you're talking about supply, and I would complicate the conversation by saying there's also a conversation around demand. And as we've heard in the Bitcoin market and in this cryptocurrency space, you've heard people talk about how Bitcoin is going to grow in adoption, mass adoption, major players getting involved. We've seen that already, and so there's at least a totally second consideration, which is the demand that you aren't even touching when you point to the simple and simplified argument that the Bitcoin halving makes the bull market. And then so I disagree with you because you're being far too simplistic. And then you go, you can't back money with gold today. Why not? If they do, you will be dirt poor or filthy rich. First of all, you already are dirt poor or filthy rich in the world standards. Like if you look at, I could talk to you about how, 2 out of every 7 people in the world live on like less than $1 a day. And I think it's something like 5 out of every 7 people, maybe 4 out of every 7 people live off of $10 a day. So, this suggestion that things would really go haywire if we return to a gold standard is so just absolutely wrong on the face of it. Things are already broken. People are either, living with nothing. For the most part, that's everybody. And then there's a few Canadians, Americans included, that live like kings. Our homeless people are rich. They have access to all the food they need, often shelters they need. I'm not saying it's an easy life. I'm not saying, they're lucky. I'm saying that in Canada or America, you don't have to starve to death, which is wild, like from a world standpoint. So I just think, again, you've got a very simplified vision of what it would mean if money was backed by gold. And even if you were right about how that would break the sort of the fairness of economy, which I don't concede, but even if you were right, You have to understand that they don't care about whether you or anyone in particular benefits or is harmed by their economic decisions. I mean, the powers that be. They don't look and say, well, you know, what's going to happen to Davin Thompson or what's going to happen to Dwayne Cunningham? They make their decisions based on the insiders that are calling these shots. And so, you know, they're not going to be caring about what will happen to the average bear. Do you think they, and I could go down a deep rabbit hole on that, but I'll carry on. Are you going back to money with gold when everyone is in debt? That's the whole point, man, my dude, is that it's really an IOU. Gold is out. So you don't articulate any substantive, you know, justification for your point. You just kind of espouse the rhetoric that gold is old, Bitcoin is new, and very simple sort of understandings of why Bitcoin would have a bear or bull market, the laws of supply and demand. So I just have to really strongly disagree, Davin. Not so much that you're wrong about the halving being important. I think you're probably right about that. But there's such a nuance that you're just overlooking, that you're glossing over. And then absolutely gold could be back the US dollar again. I don't think it will, because I don't think they have the leaders that be, the Federal Reserve and the powers that be within, you know, the president, for instance, has the balls to try and make something like that happen. And I talk in that video about what happened to JFK when he last tried to pull the trigger on something like this with Executive Order 1110, I think it was, where they wanted to back the US dollar with silver. Check it out, guys. So Devin, thanks for the comment. I just think you're mistaken about kind of some of those assumptions you're working on. Let's get two more quick comments. I saw this one from Freedom Every Way. BlackRock would not have been anywhere if the government wasn't that corrupt. Dwayne is right. As Peter Schiff has explained, we do not have true capitalism at the moment. This is it, man. And I talked today, if you guys go check out Stever82 on YouTube. Steve and I and Baby Omega were having a conversation tonight. We actually touched a little bit on these topics too. We talked about how specifically BlackRock, I mean, the dollars and the power that they control in terms of influencing political decisions. If you think for a second that they don't pull significant strings to make certain ETFs pass or fail, get delayed or launch, you know, man, they do. And it absolutely has ramifications for what happens and what transpires within our economy. So, you know, is that capitalism? In my mind, it's not. That's not a free market. It's a cronyism where certain powers that be can scratch certain backs to see that they get quid pro quo. I scratch my back, I scratch your back, you scratch mine. That's quid pro quo. And that's the world we live in, because free markets are not allowed. There's red tape and bureaucracy that stand in the way of true free market. And so capitalism isn't what we have. We have something called cronyism. And so, yeah, thanks, Freedom. Let's get one more quick comment. Oh, this is an interesting, let's talk on this and then we'll finish here. State of Survival 8457. What if we get hit by a Carrington event? It would wipe out all crypto and the economy at the same time. This is actually terrifying. I want to make sure I'm not speaking out of my Carrington event. I think he means like an EMP type event, like a solar flare that essentially erases all technology. Computers do not survive this stuff unless they're set in microwaves and buried in bunkers. And let's see, Carrington event was the most intense geomagnetic storm in recorded history, peaking at 1 September 1859. Yeah, solar cycles. So there's super flares and flares that shoot off of the sun, and they can down satellites. They can strongly impact our entire way of life. This happened in Toronto, Canada. Let's see, solar flare, Toronto, Canada. Yeah, in 1989. That sounds right. March 1989, Hydro-Quebec experienced a complete blackout of its system due to a powerful solar storm. The solar particles couldn't easily pass through their Canadian shields and instead found an outlet through transmission lines. So it fried our system. And this is to give you a sense of how big this is. Quebec map, Canada. Let's see. Go bigger. So this is Canada. You know, some of you know, let's go bigger. Let's go over here. You get a bit of sense of the US and how big that is. Quebec is like this whole quadrant. We're talking like bigger, I think bigger than Texas. It's a huge landmass, and it was massively affected. I don't know if it was entirely affected, but it was massively affected. And so what I'm trying to say is that I totally agree that, you know, solar flares, EMP attack, you know, and World War III could bring, you know, significant problems that could essentially trigger what he's concerned about. And I don't have an answer to say you're wrong. I have the same concerns, but I just bring to those concerns a different, maybe perhaps like the other side of the coin, which is, yeah, you're not entirely, I can't say you're wrong. You know, that could happen and probably will happen again, where some massive solar event happens and just, you know, literally shuts down all of our computers. That would transform our entire way of life. And it's an interesting conversation, but one, you can't plan for it. Two, I don't really know if there's any proper defense against it. And three, it's not just something that would impede sort of crypto, right? It's not just like a problem for Bitcoin. It's a problem for literally human history. Like this would transform, because we don't know how computers work. We don't know how, like, I mean, the average person, they don't know how their phone works. There's places that know that. It's like, if there was a loss of data and a loss of ease of communication, a loss of banking information, a loss that could transpire from what you're describing, man, the ramifications are huge. And so in short, I agree. What you're saying could happen. It has happened before, and I think it could happen again. And I think, in fact, it will at some point in the future, whether that's, you know, one day or 100,000 years from now, I don't know. But, you know, I guess I just want to pull that conversation back and say, it's not really a question about whether or not that will wipe out crypto and the economy. It's more a conversation about how that literally could end the human civilization as we know it, in the sense of setting back all of our, you know, modern understandings, and not just the Bitcoin, you know, the Bitcoin marketplace and the ledger, but actually literally computers as we know them, smartphones as networks as we know them, the ability to call people instantly or to look up data at a whim, all of that just potentially gone. And again, this was one sort of, I'm talking about in Montreal, one solar flare that happened. It was massive, but this can be implemented strategically by enemy attack using, as I understand it, and I'm not an expert in this, but I think tactical nuclear strikes deployed and detonated in the air above cities can be far more devastating, because there's an EMP that results. So it's not just about the explosion and the fire, it's about the EMP that radiates out further, affecting massive infrastructure. So long story short, I think you're right about sort of drawing attention to that, and it absolutely could be a big problem for like a Bitcoin network, but it's a bigger problem than even that. So I wouldn't stop it and say, oh, therefore let's not buy Bitcoin. I think if you get to a place where that happens, we have such a big, massive, life-changing, you know, problem to deal with. And it's not as little as my Bitcoin investments. It's far bigger. So guys, I'm going to leave it at that. And usually I don't sort of tackle 3 comments on one video like that, but just felt like there was a sort of a breadth of interest and sort of talking points there from those 3 comments being from 3 different angles. And so I wonder if you enjoy this. If you do, let me know in the comments below. And if you want sort of the more 1, 2, 3 different videos, I'd love to hear that too. Thank you very much for your time and attention. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. Thank you guys for everything you do. Have an amazing day. God bless.